pressure changed the whole dynamic there. You guys can keep putting answers if you want to. I'm just not going to read them off as I go off on my spiel here. So, right. So pressure makes things a little more difficult, right? Makes it a little bit more exciting. So here's a question. If you're gambling, is there pressure when you are gambling? You're betting on the Eagles, right? Yeah, that's the whole point of it, is to make something that would normally be boring a little bit more exciting. I am not an Eagles fan. I'm not going to tell you who I'm a fan of football wise, but if I'm watching the Eagles versus the Patriots, I don't care about other team. Now, if I pick one, I put money on them to win, that game is now a little bit more exciting, right? The pressure of luck, right? And we're going to get to that in a little bit. Some people believe in luck and stuff, and that's kind of an illusion we're going to talk about. But literally, you could bet on the grass growing, and you made it something it's very boring, a little bit more exciting because there's now something on the line. Now, with that said, who here has gambled before? I'm not ratting you out. I'm not going to get you in trouble or anything, but who here has gambled before? Okay, Lauren, you want to give an example of what you've done in an app? We're going to talk about that later on. That's not your traditional forms of gambling, but there's stuff similar, right? Somebody just chimed in?
I did the slot machines and I did online bingo.
Okay, online bingo, slot machines. Well, I just went down the shore with my family. We went to a little arcade thing on one of the boardwalks, and half the things in there were simulated gambling games for tickets. Literally slot machines where you can win tickets. There's a game called Three Card Monte, which is your classic game that you see like on the subway or like in New York in the subway where people have a table and they have three cards. You got to find the queen and you can win money. They had that game, but as a video version with cups. And you had to pick which cup it was, and then you could play a multiplier and get tickets for it. It's like very similar to gambling games, but again, they're just giving you tickets. Melina, within a game like GTA has a casino in the game. 2K has casino-like stuff. You're not winning money, but you're winning skins and stuff like that, which we're going to talk about. Some people have bet with their friends. Hey, I bet you I'm faster than you, that type of thing. All technically forms of gambling, but like the games I said at the boardwalk or whatever are not really gambling, but they simulate them, right? There's some excitement there. You kind of risk. If I do well at skee ball, I get tickets back, and then I trade those tickets in for a prize. And when I was at the beach looking at the prizes, they were definitely worthless, right? So you spend more money than the stuff's actually worth, but it definitely simulates it, right? Solitaire and an in-life simulation game to bet on horse races, right? And that's probably the only time you're going to bet on horses because that's like a dying sport that usually go to these horse tracks. And it's usually like an older crowd and it's a little thin. There are not many people going there anymore, right? But good. So let me give me examples. All those games are very similar to gambling, but again, they're not like 100% real gambling like you would see at a casino. So here we go real quick. Oh, I got to go back. Give me 1 second. I got to figure out how I can manipulate my PowerPoint here while still seeing you guys. 1 second. Okay, here we go. Let's see if this works. Okay, here we go. So here's the definition of gambling up here. Any game or activity where you risk money or a valuable object in order to win more money. Okay, that's the basic definition of gambling right there. Okay, I buy a lottery ticket. It's $1. If I don't hit any of the numbers, I don't get anything back. That's the strict rule of gambling. You lose, you'll lose. And that's going to come up again when we talk about loot boxes, because there's like a technicality there where it's not technically 100% gambling. But again, what we're worried about is the effect on the brain. So when we talk about gambling, and again, if I'm going too fast for anybody, let me know. It's been a few weeks since I've taught any classes, so maybe I'm talking too fast. But here we go. Here's a type of game of skill. So the first type of game that you can play is a game of skill. So first thing, what is a skill? What does a skill mean? If you're skilled at something.
Something you're good at.
Thank you very much. Something you're good at, right? You practiced. Tying your shoes is a skill. You weren't born with the ability to tie shoes. You had to learn over time, right? All these things that you learn how to do. Yeah, something you can train for. We're going to watch the Olympics here in a few weeks with empty crowds. Those people spent tens of thousands of hours per year on that one thing, and they are the most elite at it, right? So that's something you get better at. Good. Any sport, math, English, reading, speaking a language is a skill, right? You didn't know how to do it when you were born. Again, I got to click on the screen here to move it. One more. Now, what is luck? If you say, hey, you were lucky, and thank you, yeah, riding a bike, driving, swimming even is a skill. What is luck, though? So we have skill, stuff you can practice at and get better at. Opposite side of the spectrum, what is luck? Random, chance, outstanding. It just happens. And Melina gave me the perfect word for it, chance. So games of chance is the proper word for it. It's an illusion. We're going to get to that, believe me. Hold on to those thoughts with the illusion and whatnot, because we're definitely going to be talking about that in a few minutes here. So luck, you have no control over whatsoever, but some people think they can control those things, and that's what we're going to talk about later on. So good. Luck, it kind of implies there's a little green Irishman with a pot of gold. So it's used the mathematical term chance. Okay, chance, games of chance is a better term for it. And guys, I apologize for my PowerPoint being so old. It's from like 2002 or something, so it's almost older than most of you here. We got a bunch of games here. All right, we got chess. I'm playing chess myself, learning, and I'm not that good at it. We got dice. Okay, we got roulette. All right, we got pinball here. Game was actually illegal in New York for 30 years because it was considered gambling. We got poker here. And also you got dice there, so that's like a traditional casino type games there, but mostly represents poker, the most popular card game out there besides Uno. We got bingo. Some of you mentioned bingo. Some of you might have played bingo. There's technically no legal age in Pennsylvania for bingo. As long as an adult is there, you can play bingo. You're not going to be able to go in a casino and do it. There's that age limit, but if a church organization, community groups hold a bingo thing, you're technically allowed to play. We got video poker here, your classic touch screen games. My grandma used to have one that simulated blackjack, that type of thing, but you can also play them where you're gambling. And now that can also represent our online gambling games, which you can do all this stuff that I'm going to be talking about. You can now do it online. We got football, my favorite sport right there. We got slot machines. Okay, this is a clunky old slot machine. They do not look like this anymore. They look like your stand-up arcade game now. They're very fancy, but there's the old school one. There's an old Twilight Zone episode where a guy gets addicted to a slot machine, and that's what it looks like, and they're called the one-armed bandit. Put money in, you pull this clunky lever, and it takes like 10 seconds to find out if you won or lost, and then you do it again, right? You got video games. It's your classic joystick. You play for like a flying game or something like that. We got baseball, soccer, and then we got darts. So there's one game up here that is 100% skill. The best one will always win. So what game is 100% skill? Thank you. Chess. Good. Chess is 100% skill. There's no luck ever in chess, okay? The person who wins that game is the better player for that round, okay? Now, opposite side of the spectrum, and again, we're going to talk about heads and tails later, but yeah, that's a random thing. Give me a game up here that's all luck. No matter how many times you do, thank you, dice is all luck. All you can do in dice is figure out what's better to pick than others. Like what has a better chance of happening. But again, you are not controlling that whatsoever. Give me another game. Bingo, 100% luck. I don't care how many cards your grandma can keep track of. She buys 3 cards. Each card has its odds stand alone, and that's it. Roulette, very good. Checkers is skill. That's kind of like chess, but more basic. It's definitely a skill there. Slot machines, good. All luck. Roulette is all luck as well. I'm going to scroll up because some people are giving answers. I want to make sure we get everybody. Good. We got poker. Poker is a weird one. Okay, so here we go. Poker, do you control the cards you get? So they deal out the cards. You don't control it, right? They go through the deck. They throw them out. You don't know what you got, okay? But what can you do? Yes, there is skill in poker. What can you do in poker that is skillful? There's a few things you can do. Bluff, poker face, bluffing, faking out your opponent, making them think that you have the opposite of what you have. You can just fold. You can drop out at any time. And to know when to do that is a skill. Hey, I'm just going to cut my losses here and fold, and I'll play another round. You can raise them, again, a form of bluffing, right? I have a great hand. The person across from me has a terrible hand, but then they start playing very aggressively. I might think they have a good hand, and I might just fold, and then it's revealed I was tricked the whole time, right? So good. That's like 45% skill, 55 luck, right? That type of thing. It's mostly luck. And again, you can play that in a casino, but you're never going to play against the casino. The casino doesn't have their poker champion that challenges everybody because, again, that's too risky for them. A good poker player might show up and just start taking all their money. They're not going to risk that, okay? And good. Now let's talk about football because somebody mentioned football here. Luck or skill for football? Hopefully more than something else. So, but it's definitely, I would say 97, 96% skill. But what happens in any sport, whatever you want to talk about, that is more luck. So what can happen in basketball that's bad luck or good luck? Baseball, soccer. What can happen? Not so much for the indoor sports, for one of them. Like basketball is usually not affected by this. So what do you never control when you're playing a sport outside? That can change the game. Weather. Thank you very much. So I'm going to go back to football here, okay? Your team is a great passing team. You have Tom Brady and you're the Buccaneers. It starts raining and pouring. You're in trouble now because your run game is not as strong as your passing game, and it's now raining. You can't really pass. That's a disadvantage. Injuries is the major one, especially in sports like football, where a Tom Brady can make your team go from a 7-9 to a 12-4 team the next year with that one player, right? So he's out. They're not as good as they would have been, right? Injuries definitely affect the game. Weather, basketball is not really affected by weather, but you get injuries. Your top tier player goes down on your team. Michael Jordan gets hurt. You're not going to be as good as you were with that player, type of thing, right? And then there's a funny little thing. I think I don't know what team it was. Maybe the Knicks and Madison Square Garden play. Also, the New York Rangers play there. And one time the temperature control system was all messed up inside the Garden, and the ice started to melt underneath the basketball court. And they actually played in fog inside of a stadium type of thing. So that's a bad luck thing. But again, injuries are the primary one. What about video games? Luck or skill for video games? More so one thing now than, yeah, mostly skill, right? You got glitches, you got your internet connection might be garbage that day. You're playing against cheaters or stuff like that, but they're mostly skill. When I was younger, you got a game and it was broken. It was broken. There was a glitch in the game. There was no way to fix it. Now you have updates and stuff like that. They can fix the game. Again, we got darts, mostly skill. Soccer, same as any other sport. Your best player gets hurt, you're at a disadvantage, okay? Now I'm going to hit a button here. Let me click on here, and the things are going to move. All right, it's got one side here. You got all the games over here, and then over here you got all these different games. So why would you, my mistake. These games over here you can play in a casino. Why are these games you're allowed to play in a casino as opposed to these games over here? Hopefully so you can see my cursor moving. So why can you play these games in a casino and not these games? Skill versus chance, right? So at a casino, you can play luck games, okay? You can play poker, and like I said earlier, you're not playing against you're not playing against the best poker player they have. You're playing against other guests, and you might pay a fee to sit there, and then you tip the dealer type of thing. It's just mostly to draw a crowd. But these games, yeah, they don't want you to win. They want you to win a little bit because they want you to come back. But for the most part, you're going to lose more than you win at a casino because the house always has the advantage, right? The slot machine game is to their advantage. Like slot machines work like this. They're guaranteed to make a profit for the casino by the end of the year. So I put a slot machine out and it takes in $1 million. A certain percentage of that $1 million has to go to the owner, and it's like 10%. So if $1 million goes in that slot machine, I get 100,000 as the owner, and the other 900,000 goes out to the winners of the game. So by the end of the year, it's going to make me a certain profit, and casinos are filled with them because that's their big money maker. Then they have games like roulette, they have games like bingo. They do have those in casinos, dice. You got all these different games, but again, it's going to predominantly be slot machines. It's a big draw to these casinos, and even online. You see in all the commercials, they advertise their slot machine games. Our slot machine games have better payouts than this casino. Come play the game. What can you do though over here with these games in a casino or online? Now, you might see all these commercials, especially Sunday morning on the Sunday morning news, is commercials for this type of stuff. Good, these are skill games, right? If you were to play them, but what can you do in a casino with these games now? As of like 3 years ago, it was made legal in Pennsylvania. Before that, it was illegal, but people still did it a lot. Good, you can bet on sports, right? You can bet on a chess match. You can bet on football, baseball. You can't bet on video games yet that I know of because there's not one organization in charge of it. I can bet on basketball because there's an NBA that controls professional men's basketball, WNBA for women's professional basketball. They have one set of rules. Video games do not have that yet. Boxing, you can bet on boxing, right? It was the most popular sport in the world at one time, then had issues. People like to bet on boxing, right? You can bet on dart leagues. During COVID, a year and a half ago, when sports pretty much didn't exist for a couple months, people were betting on table tennis in Russia. They were betting on a baseball league in Hong Kong just because they wanted something to bet on. And people predominantly still bet illegally on sports for the most part. They go to their bookie or whatever, but you can also do it online. You see all these commercials where they give you spend $1,000, they'll match your first $1,000 because they're trying to draw you in and get your money. Yeah, luck versus skill games. Has anybody here ever seen the inside of a casino? In a movie, you walk through, there's hotels there. You guys just are not allowed on the gaming floor. Okay, you've gone. Is it nice? What does it look like, Lauren? Naja's never been, okay.
It's a lot of lights. It's a lot going on. And
Yeah.
It's like they have different machines placed in different places to like kind of draw you in. You can tell.
Oh, believe me, they put a lot of money, very good, into figuring out where to put things, what games to have. They put in a lot into the carpets to figure out what carpets they should put there. They're purposely ugly so you don't look down at the carpet. There's two things in a casino that they'll never have. That mostly very dramatic, but no outdoor lighting. Okay, well, here we go. Build upon that. Why no outdoor lighting? So you're in a casino. What do they do? Okay, flashy lights on the inside, but they also don't have two things that you usually have in like a normal room, like a classroom you go into. Good, keeps you focused on the game. And we're going to get to that in a second here. Good, no windows. They don't want you to know what time it is. They want you to walk in at 6 p.m., leave thinking it's 9 p.m. It's 6 a.m. the next day. You've been there 12 hours. The longer you play, the more the casino will most likely win. And that's the goal. So they don't have clocks either. Very good. I'm wearing a watch. Most people don't wear watches anymore. You're sitting there engrossed in your game. There's no reason to look down on your cell phone. You could do it if you wanted to. And if you wanted to play on your cell phone, you're not going to be able to because the Wi-Fi in the casino is purposely terrible because, again, they want you focused on these games. Plus, if you ever I don't know if any of you drive or you play video games, but sometimes you get like sucked into the game and you kind of zone out. And you have no idea how much time has passed. That's the goal of a casino, especially on these slot machines, is to get you just to zone out. You're having a great time inside your head. We're going to talk about what gets released when you hit these slot machine buttons. But the goal is there to keep you playing, get your money, and still have you leave feeling, hey, I got a lot out of them. Because they give you something for free when you're in a casino. They try to keep you there as long as possible. They don't want you there for 24 hours straight. Good, they give you free alcohol. That's why you have to be 21. When I was a kid, growing up in the 80s and 90s, my dad could do this anywhere. You can't do this indoors anywhere anymore, except for most casinos in Pennsylvania. New Jersey's cracking down. This is good. You can smoke cigarettes in a casino, because if you're outside smoking, you're not inside gambling. So they let you sit down and gamble and smoke. Plus, there's a correlation between gamblers and nicotine. For some reason, they go together perfectly. And a lot of gamblers, at least traditionally in years past, definitely cutting down now. Like I was down the beach, I saw 2 people smoking cigarettes the whole time I was there. And I'm from a time where almost every adult I knew growing up would smoke, right? And they're making money. They want you to stay there. They have nice restaurants and everything. Sometimes they'll give you a free ticket for a meal because if you leave and go and eat, you're probably not going to come back. Might as well give you a free meal. You go upstairs and eat. You come back and gamble. So sometimes they'll give you free stuff, which we're going to talk about in a minute. And I'm going to pause here. Anybody have any questions? I know I'm going fast. Just we have a lot of stuff to get to, and I want to get to the stuff you would deal with, like video games and whatnot. So any questions about the stuff we've covered so far? Kind of. They don't want you to get addicted because it looks bad for them. It's very unpopular. They do have, like, if they see somebody sitting there for too long, they'll go say something to them, like, hey, maybe take a break. But definitely the goal is to have you gamble a lot of money and leave feeling happy. So they might give you a free hotel room. I'm not going to say where, but in one of the schools, I ran into somebody who found out what the program we were doing, and the person voluntarily told me that they're what you would call a whale. So there's a gambling term called a whale, and it's a very rich person. And it's kind of like the classic book where they're hunting for the whales. And if you get a whale, you can make a lot of money off of them. And he admitted he is one. And he said he gambles $500,000 a year in the various casinos, at least, him and his wife. And he's bragging to me. They fly him out to Vegas. They will give him a free car ride to AC with free rooms and meals. And he's telling me he's getting over on them. But meanwhile, he told me he loses around $500,000 a year to these casinos. And the whole time I'm thinking, the hotel room they gave you was empty anyways. Might as well put you in it because you are known to lose money to them. The meal only costs them so much compared to what you lose to them. That chartered aircraft, that seat on the plane was empty. Might as well put you on it. There's definitely a method to this madness. They're not dumb. They have tons of people with certain expertise on how to get people in the casino, from advertising to psychologists designing the carpets a certain way, the level of the lights, the music, all that stuff. They're very clever with what they do. And again, none of this is illegal. It's all in the up and up. They're highly regulated. They're not going to be robbing you, but it's essentially you're walking in on your own free will, playing these games that the odds are against you. And the reason why people do it is because it's exciting. All right, that they get something out of it on their end. I'm going to move on. Skip that. Got to get to my parts. Okay. Talk about this. All right. So this is, anybody familiar with this on my screen? Anybody know what we're looking at here? It happened this year. COVID got canceled. Yes. All right. So it's March Madness. Okay. And when we talk about gambling, we talk about odds, right? So the chances of something happening. And normally, like you saw on the previous screen, I'd play a quick game with you guys with a coin toss or a die. But we're a little short porch here, so people with Dana White being kicked out of casinos for making too much money. That's a possibility. They usually kick you out if they catch you counting cards. So making a game of luck into a game of skill by just using your brain, it's not illegal. It's just very much frowned upon. And most casinos in Pennsylvania and Nevada, Las Vegas, and Reno will kick you out. So real quick is what count carding means. There's 52 cards in a deck, all right? And you have a 1 out of 13 chance of getting any specific card when there's a full deck. So there, you're already doing math in your head. There's an old movie called Rain Man where Tom Cruise and his brother, he's bringing his brother around. His brother's autistic, but he's really good with numbers. And he sits his brother down at a blackjack table, and the brother walks away with like $500,000 because he's sitting there. He knows what's in front of him card-wise. He knows what everybody else has next to him, and he can figure out in his head what's still in the deck and the chances of him getting something that he needs, and you can win more than you lose. It's very difficult to do, but if you can make a lot of money. Like Ben Affleck, the Batman, the guy who's now back with Jennifer Lopez, is all over the news. He's been known to be a card counter himself, and he's banned from certain casinos in Las Vegas. But this is what I just learned. New Jersey, it is illegal for them to ban you for counting cards. So if you can count cards, you can go play in the Jersey casinos because they can't legally kick you out because you're just using your brain. You're not cheating at all, but they definitely frown upon it. And the way I described it is with a 52 card deck. Now they have 10 decks in a box that's randomly shuffled. It's not impossible, but it's even more difficult to do. So again, with card counting, you're figuring out your odds as you're going. And what we're going to talk about here is March Madness, because this is a perfect example of odds and how they get crazy. Okay, so real quick, this is March Madness from 2017. And what happens is every year, the teams play their normal schedule. And at the end of the normal schedule, they get ranked. There's 64 teams that qualify for the tournament. So there's 32 games in the first round. All you do is pick the winner of each game. And you can do it a certain way. You can pick the highest rank. Because each area, East, West, Midwest, and South, they have 16 teams per region. So you're ranked from 1 to 16. So right here, we got Villanova, ranked number 1, versus, I can't even tell, what is Maryland, ranked number 16. Just thinking about it, I'm going to pick Nova to beat them because they're higher ranked. So you fill in Villanova right there. Next game, you got Virginia Tech versus somebody else. My brother-in-law went to Virginia Tech. I'll pick them. You complete that for the first round, all 32 games. Second round, you pick 16 games. Next round, you pick 8 games. Next round, you pick 4. Then you pick who's going to win the championship game. One team wins and is undefeated. The point of doing this is to get a perfect bracket sheet. Pick the winning team every single time. One year, a billionaire named Warren Buffett offered up $1 billion to see if anybody could do this. A perfect bracket sheet, $1 billion. Didn't cost you any money whatsoever. Why would he risk doing that? So you pick every game perfectly, the winning team. You don't have to pick the score, just the winning team. Why do you think he would risk that? $1 billion of his own money, even though he has got a lot of billions of dollars. Because it's hard. It's pretty much one of the most impossible things to do ever, okay? Here's the main reason. Me going through the bracket sheet here, I pick the best team by ranking every single time. Does the best team always win? Patriots, Eagles, Super Bowl, right? Who is the favorite? Patriots were the favorite. Who won? The Eagles, right? I'll just go ahead and say it. My New York Football Giants did it twice against the Patriots, right? They weren't the best team each time, but Eli pulled it off, right? So the best team doesn't always win. That's why this is almost impossible to do, because it's always going to be an upset. This past year had some of the biggest upsets in college basketball history. We had like a number 15 beat a number 2, a number 12 beat a number 1. Stuff that just normally does not happen. And here are your odds of filling out a perfect bracket sheet, okay? I got to kind of move you guys over so I can see this. Here are your odds of filling out a perfect bracket sheet, okay? Your odds are 1 in this ginormous number. So real quick, I'm going to go through it. You have your hundreds place, your thousands, your millions, your billions, trillion, quadrillion, quintillion. Your odds of filling out a perfect bracket sheet are 1 in 9.2 quintillion. Is it possible to do this? Like technically, yes. Technically it's possible, but most likely we will never see a perfect bracket sheet ever. Pretty much if you wanted to see this, like one day Earth got together like in Star Trek for the greater good of filling out bracket sheets, every human being on Earth would have to fill out 2 million bracket sheets on their own. Everybody, we'd have to coordinate so there's not a duplicate bracket sheet. And by the end of the tournament, there'd be 1 bracket sheet perfect on Earth. All right. So it's almost impossible to do this. Warren Buffett knew this. He made millions of dollars off of it because he sold your private information you had to submit to fill out a bracket sheet. Right. So here's the concept with this whole thing. Who's ever seen Looney Tunes, whenever Bugs Bunny's skiing or something like that? Who's ever seen one of those episodes? And Bugs Bunny starts skiing down the mountain and he trips and he starts rolling down the snowy mountain. What does he usually turn into? A snowball, a giant snowball, until he crashes into a tree and then he pops out of the snowball and says a funny line, right? Odds work exactly the same. This first game here, my odds are 1 out of 2 to pick the winner. The second game, Odds are still 1 out of 2 because you just got to pick one team out of 2. But to do them in order, now it's 1 out of 2, 1 out of 4. Now a third game is 1 out of 8, 1 out of 16 for 4 games, 1 out of 32, 1 out of 64. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you get that ginormous number here. Same thing with a lottery. Your odds are 1 in 300 million to win the Powerball lottery. All right, not great odds, certainly better than the odds of March Madness. That's why we say, if you're of age, be careful, set limits if you're going to do it. Don't waste all your money on these games because most likely you are going to lose. All right, and good. Let me move into stuff you guys are more familiar with. Yeah, I'll cover this too. So here we go. Illusion of control, real quick. This is when people believe that they can control something that in reality they cannot. Like lucky numbers. My grandparents play the lottery. They believe in lucky numbers. Okay. Anybody know anybody who plays the lottery and does that? Taking lucky numbers instead of random? No? Okay. Well, some people do. Yeah. Some people do it. Birthdays, anniversaries. My grandparents, for some reason, when I last saw them, were playing their neighbor's death day for good luck. It was kind of weird, but yeah. Addresses, right? Yeah. Tons of stuff like that. So this is called an illusion of control. Thinking you can control something that you cannot. I wear my lucky hat. It's not going to rain today. There's no correlation whatsoever. My hat does not affect the weather. So I'm delusional. So I have an illusion of control. Another example, my mom is superstitious. When I was a kid, we moved into a new house. My dad broke a mirror the first day. What does that mean? So you break a mirror, what does that mean? Bad luck, right? For 7 years, right? The next spring, like 6 months later, we found out we had a horrible termite infestation that cost my parents tons of money to deal with. To this day, 20-something years later, my mom still connects termites with a broken mirror. Are they connected?
No.
No, right? So same thing with Lucky Charms. You see people sitting on a slot machine with a Lucky Charm. It's not going to help them. If they do think that, they have an illusion of control. And it's very big with gamblers because the odds are definitely against you. And people like to think that they can beat those odds by certain little tricks and like lucky numbers and Lucky Charms. And I'm going to try to be quick with this. Show you real quick a image of an illusion. So what's in this picture here? There's 2 things in this picture. So normally when you see something in nature, good, there's only 1 thing, but these have 2 because they trick your brain. A cup and 2 faces, okay? So the middle part is a cup, like a wine glass a king or queen would drink out of, right? And then the black part are 2 people's faces or their profiles, right? Looking at each other. A goblet, good. That's a base. I'm going to do 1 more because I don't want to, I only got 17 minutes, so. What's in this one? There's only 1 thing in this picture. What's in this picture? That's one of the most common answers I get. It's not a turtle. Arthur, you got it. Melina got it. It's a cow. Who sees a cow in this picture? When I saw it, I first saw it, I thought it was like a Roman fresco or something they dug up from like like an old archaeological site. But it's a cow. I'm going to show you. Hopefully you can see my cursor here. Okay. So here's 1 ear. A giant thing there is an ear. Okay. This is an eye right there. The other side, here's the other eye, which is bigger. Okay. The other ear. And then it's like nasal passage comes down here, down to its mouth and nose. Right. So now you got it. Now, this is no longer an illusion. If you see this and somebody tries to pull this on you, you can be like, hey, that's a cow. Stop trying to show me these weird pictures. It's a cow because your brain is no longer tricked. But the thing with this is in nature, when you see something, it's usually only 1 thing. All right. Unless you look at a tree branch and you're looking at it for a while, then something starts walking on that tree branch. And you see this is also a stick bug. Camouflage kind of works like that, right? Your brain assumes a lot of things and it kind of tries to slip it in on you. I don't like that one. That doesn't work anymore. Real quick, I don't want to go too long on this one. So there's 2 ladies in this picture. Okay. This is like the gold standard for an optical illusion because it doesn't sacrifice anything. The other pictures, when you Google them, kind of don't work perfectly, but this one does. So there's a young lady and there's a very old lady. So Hanaja sees the old lady. Okay, usually people see the young lady first, but that's fine. It's going to be easier for you to see both. There's a young lady and an old lady. I'll show you the first one. They both have a nice fur coat on. So the shoulders are going to be the same no matter what. Okay, the hair is going to be the same no matter what. The covering on their hair is going to be the same, and the feather is going to be the same. You've probably seen this one because again, this is like one of the best optical illusions that they have out there. And the real tricky part is what goes on in here. So the first one is the young lady who's kind of looking like this over her shoulder. So you kind of see her profile. So you see her chest here, her shirt's kind of open. She has a tight necklace on, a choker. You see her neck coming up. Her jawline starts there to her chin. You can see her nose, her eyelash, and then her ear is kind of over here underneath her hair. All right, that's the young lady. Now the old lady, this is her giant chin right here on the bottom. That's her giant chin that's kind of tucked into her chest. And she's kind of looking a little bit more forward. The young lady, you can see a little bit more of a profile. The older lady, more of the actual front of her face here. Here's her mouth. That black necklace is now her open mouth, okay? Here's her lip. I got her lip right there, okay? Here's her nose, her giant nose. So the bump in your nose starts there, goes to the tip, goes up. She has a growth on her nose. The eyelash of the other eye you can't see is over here. And then her other eye is right there, where the young lady's ear would be. Some of you might not see it still, but that's for a reason because your brain is still trying to figure this out because it just doesn't make sense. And I'm going to show you another one real quick. I usually spent like 20 minutes on this picture usually, which I can't do time-wise today. Here's a hand-drawn version. So now you can see the old lady's eyeball and her eyelash there, kind of like a bag under her eye there. I'm picking her nose. Kind of, yeah, exactly. It looks like Rue's mom. Very good. Yeah, I forgot about the old lady with the young guys living at her house, right? And you can see that. Again, if you can't, Google optical illusions, and this is like, again, the gold standard. It's really one of the best ones. Let me see. Real quick, got a giant squirrel here, right? You'll get the picture. You're like, hey, there's a giant squirrel trying to eat this guy's car. What's going on here? I know giant squirrels don't exist, but this picture is telling me otherwise. And in reality, the squirrel, oh, you saw the previous pic. Okay, good. I don't want to go back just because we got a bunch of stuff I want to cover here. But you got a giant squirrel, right? In reality, that squirrel is standing on a brick wall that separates this driveway from this driveway. And it just looks like it's giant. And your brain, you know giant squirrels don't exist, but you're like, hey, this picture is telling me otherwise. All because of the camera trickery and the angles and whatnot. And if that guy moved his arm away, you would see that the wall continues this way and cuts off your view of the tires there. Let me move on through this. Here's another one. Not much of an optical illusion, though. You see a skull, and in reality, it's a young lady doing her makeup in the mirror. And that's her reflection. It's not really a skull. Okay, this is what I want to get to because it's more stuff tied into what you guys do. So you got any questions? Okay, if you don't have a question, just go ahead and mute yourself, and we're going to move on here. Yeah, it reminds you, you could see something like a cloud, right? You look at the cloud, I see this, right? So this thing we're going to transition here is the effect of gambling on the brain, all right? So this is a image of somebody's brain who is a admitted gambler, gambling addict, meaning they have to do it. This person's in the clinical setting, and they have like little nodules on their head that's scanning what's going on in their brain while they're doing certain things, okay? So this one over here, the blue side, is blah. Nothing exciting is happening. They're playing on the slot machine. In your traditional slot machine, you have to match three things. Like I was telling you about the old one-arm bandit, you pull the lever and it's very clunky. So this person pulled the lever and it came up a cherry, a coin, and a 4-leaf clover. So they lost, right? They knew they lost after the second thing was revealed. Their brain doesn't release any dopamine whatsoever. And gambling, the main chemical involved with gambling is dopamine. Makes you feel satisfied. You go complete a task. You feel good. That's dopamine that's released into your brain by doing that. This side of the brain is the excited side. And here is the key term here: potential win. Doesn't mean they won. It means they think they're about to win. So they pulled a lever and they got to match three things. They have a diamond and then a diamond. The brain just goes ahead and assumes that they won and releases that feel-good chemical no matter what the third thing revealed to be. So they got a diamond, shot of dopamine. Third thing is a 4-leaf clover. Oh, their brain really just quickly registered that loss as a win. And back in the day when these machines took forever, it wasn't that big of a deal. People still got addicted, right? We still have the 2% of the population that's at risk of getting a gambling addiction. They would have fallen a prey to that most likely by this old game. But now the new ones, you preload it and you hit the button and you can do like 30 spins in a minute, as opposed to maybe 5 spins a minute from back in the day. So now you're getting those little shot at the dopamine constantly while hitting this button, more apt to get hooked on these games. Now, what else does this to your brain? Some video games that you're playing, and I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 times, but loot boxes work exactly the same on your brain. There's videos out there of young adolescents opening loot boxes in whatever games they play, and the camera's just faced at them. You don't see what they're opening. We see their eyes lighting up every time they're opening these loot boxes and they're getting something. They're getting little shots of dopamine there. If you don't know what a loot box is, it's pretty simple. It's a digital item. It's not real, obviously. It's kind of like a birthday present. So yeah, exactly, Kayla, like a chest, right? Like a birthday present. All right, you got a birthday present, and there's a whole wide range of stuff that you could get. It could be a pair of socks. It could be a PlayStation 5. That's almost impossible to find now, but there's a wide range there. But the key thing is here, you're getting something no matter what. So that's where they kind of like argue it's not really gambling because you're getting something. We're arguing it affects your brain just like gambling, and you can get hooked on opening these loot boxes. I don't have any of my kids' toys around now. LOL, Hatchimals, blind bags, Pokemon cards, baseball cards, Kinder Surprise eggs. All this stuff is very similar and in the same vein as loot boxes, right? Because you can waste a lot of money on this stuff and get hooked on it. So let me hit this. This is where it all started. So most of you might have heard about this game. Okay, this game came out in 2017, I believe it came out. And in order to be a cool character, it's kind of like Call of Duty. You run around, you're on one team and playing against the other team, and you got to shoot the other guys. But this version, it's Star Wars. Okay, so when you start out, you were a very boring character, like a resistance person, like in Rogue One, or you're either a stormtrooper, right? In order to be a cool character, like in the picture here, you got Darth Maul, you got a TIE fighter pilot guy, you got Rey. Like the little diamonds were 1 and 200 have real diamonds. I'm not sure where that is. Is that like one of those boardwalk games?
No, you can like buy it from like a Target or something like that. It's like this little clay thing.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
You crush it, and when like I saw all these videos where people just bought a bunch, and then when they finally got it, it was like this little 50 thing that was worth like maybe $50 because it was just so small.
Oh yeah. It's still a diamond though. It's still worth, right? So yeah, I'll check that out next time I go to Target. This stuff is always popping up. You go to Five Below, half the stuff at Five Below is a blind bag loot box type of thing. You know what you're getting. You're getting FGTV, like my son likes to watch, but you don't know what you're gonna get. You just know what the topic is, right? And there's a YouTube channel with a guy who bought $30,000 worth of Pokemon cards, and he just filmed himself sitting there opening them up, and he won like $70,000 worth of like high-end Pokemon cards. But the whole time the guy's filling it, opening up the cards, I guarantee he's getting little shots of dopamine, and he spent a lot of money on these cards. But let me go back. We only have 5 minutes. This game came out, okay? And to be a cool character, you had two choices. You could play the game for like 1,000 hours and earn that character, or you could buy loot boxes and maybe win that character a little bit faster. What were younger people choosing to do predominantly? Were they playing the game for an obscene amount of time, or were they asking for additional money to buy the loot boxes from their parents? What do you think young people were choosing to do predominantly? Right, they're buying the loot boxes, and parents are getting mad. I just spent $70 on this game. Why are you asking for another $40 to be a character? They stopped buying the game. They lost like $1 billion that first year in sales because of this whole issue with loot boxes. Another game stepped in and became #1 during this time. And you either love it or you hate it. No, you don't need to. No. But some people like to. So what? Thank you very much. Fortnite stepped in, okay, and became #1. How much does Fortnite cost? 0. It's free, right? Unless you want the Save the World mode, that'll be $30. Or if you want a cool character, oh, you just buy some V-Bucks and you can buy that character. I had a student 2 years ago, so I'm sure he spent even more cents, who at that time, this is 2019, the game was out for like a year and a half. He spent $2,000 on Fortnite alone. Every present and gifts, every cent he got went to spending money on this game. So now how is that different than a person addicted to a slot machine, right? They're getting the same effect on their brain. They're spending, well, the young person is probably spending less money, but still he's spending money. That's a waste, right? So again, you got to be careful and set limits in gambling games. And now these types of games. Candy Crush is the original one that started all this. The matching of stuff and the explosions. I worked with a teacher, I'm not going to say where. They would play 12 hours a day for 4 years, he said. And him and his wife had to go get therapy because they were playing this game nonstop and they were addicted. Like, so your mom was addicted to Candy Crush or one of the similar games? Yeah, and you'd spend money because you get a certain amount of lives per day, and you got to wait till the next day comes up to get your lives back, or you can spend some money and get more. So it's pay to play type of thing, right? So you got these free games, you got freemium. It's kind of similar to how I have Hulu. You can get the basic Hulu version. You're going to get some commercials. You want to skip those commercials, it'll be twice as much a month, but you don't have to watch the commercials anymore. I chose to spend twice as much. So I don't have to watch commercials anymore, right? So it's like a tiered type of thing. So you just got to be careful, set limits. Again, this is what a loot box looks like in Fortnite, I believe. Actually, Fortnite doesn't have loot boxes. They have the loot llamas or something like that, because they saw that their competitor lost a bunch of money because they were messing with loot boxes. They got a different way to get a bunch of money. Yeah, again, here we got the Ryan's Toy World. That kid is worth $30 million or something. LOL, my daughter has too many of those things. Pokemon, luckily they haven't dealt with Pokemon yet. Again, all this stuff that technically is very similar to gambling. They're still arguing that it's not really gambling, because at the end of the day, they're saying you're getting something no matter what. Apex Legends has a lot. Overwatch has them. I play the Battlefield series. They have them. I never open them. So I have like thousands of them. I don't care what my character looks like, but some people do. And some of these games have gambling like stuff in them. Some of these games have shady, illegal third-party websites where you can take your in-game Apex Legends skin and gamble it away, and it's usually a rip-off type of thing. So again, okay, cool. Yeah, we can do Jeopardy real quick. Again, I apologize, guys. I'm used to talking a lot longer or trying to break it out. I was trying to get the most important things out to you guys. And again, watch any app thing. I have an iPhone, and in the App Store will tell you in-game purchases. It costs this much. It's free. And the whole point of this stuff is like Clash of Clans. You can barely see it here. So you have like your little like castle thing. And if you want to take 2 weeks to play this game and build your thing up, just not spending any money, you're more than welcome to do it. Or you can spend $10 and go ahead and fast forward and get a huge castle that would have taken you time to do. And that's what they're betting on, is most people will just want to fast forward to when their player or their team is a lot better. So they'll spend a little bit of money, and then some people spend a ton of money. So again, be careful, set limits, gambling, and these games. So real quick, I'm going to escape out of here and we'll do Jeopardy real quick. I'm not going to do teams just because we only have a couple minutes. So let's do it for fun. All right. So what you guys all see my my Jeopardy here on the screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, here we go. So here are my categories. We got 5 minutes. We got gambling, we got Shrek, we got casinos, we got black and white. The answer is something both black and white. You want a cookie, you go to the store and you want a black and white cookie, you can get an Oreo cookie, right? Traditionally black and white, or a black and white cookie at a New York bagel shop. Tools, question about wrenches, stuff like that, right? Basic tools. So if anybody for fun, we'll just play for fun. So anybody want to pick a category and a point value? All right, Kayla, go ahead and pick category and point value. Ones are easier than fives, theoretically.
I want Shrek for 5.
Oh my God, Shrek for 5. I don't want to hear any series in the background for this one, because it's going to be tough, especially for you younger people here. Who voiced the princess?
Oh.
Anybody know, except for the fellow teachers
shoot.
here.
Mm.
She was the bad teacher in Bad Teacher.
What is that?
It's a movie with a bad teacher. I didn't watch it. I just know she's a bad
What
teacher.
is that?
No, I think she retired from acting. You see, not as famous as she used to be. That's why that's a good 5-pointer. Cameron Diaz. Have you heard of Cameron Diaz? I think they're coming back with another Shrek or maybe a show or something. I know Monsters Inc. has a show. You knew it. You should have just said it. We're just playing for fun here. Anybody want to go next? Anaja, you just want to pick?
I just pick a number.
Yeah, no, a category and a number.
I'll do Shrek number 2.
Shrek for 2. What is the name of the princess?
Fiona.
Fiona. Nice. All right. I'll just give team 1. We don't have teams here just because we only have a few minutes. Anybody else?
People
We do
getting
have
away
gambling.
with my bread, man.
Are you up? You want to go? Anybody can go. Category and point value.
I can't see the screen.
Oh. Can anybody else see the screen?
Yeah, if you're on your phone, you're probably going to have problems. That's why I asked you to
Oh.
use laptops.
Got ya. Okay, I'm gonna just
Laptops
pick
are
for you
better
real
for these
quick.
Glasses, but go ahead.
Okay, here we go.
Alright.
So we'll just do black and white for 5. Okay, black and white for 5. This one's a riddle. That's why I like this one. I don't serve alcohol, but I am behind bars. I don't serve alcohol.
Bartender.
So I don't serve alcohol. Bartenders
No,
serve alcohol. Good. Prisoners used to wear black and white. The movie Life with Eddie Murphy and what's his name? Used to wear black and white. Here we go. Here's another one. Here's another riddle. This is a tool. Okay. This 2 words put together spell this tool. The first word is a specific type of bird. The second is a place where adults go to drink alcohol and socialize. 2 words.
Crowbar.
Outstanding. Crowbar. Very good. A crow and a bar. Very basic type of tool. Now let's get some gambling here. So gambling for 5. Who is more likely to develop an addiction to anything? An adult or a teenager?
Teenagers.
Very good. Anybody know why? With the logic behind this?
More
Teenagers
impressionable.
means-
Good. At the end of the day, your brain is not done developing until roughly 25 years old. So you guys are more at risk of taking risks without thinking about the outcomes. Another reason why most places you can't rent a car until you're 25, or you'll pay some pretty crazy fees to do it. Let's do gambling again. We got a minute. Which gambling activity are more likely to get addicted to? Slot machines or the lottery?
Slot
Lottery.
machine.
Playing the
Slot
lottery.
machines.
So we got half and half. We're gonna go with. Okay, I see more slot machines here. The answer is slot machines. So I'm gonna end it with this. Remember, guys, you're picking the lottery and you're playing slot machines. You're gonna get shots of dopamine while you're playing these games. Slot machines, you're gonna get them tons of times all day, every day as you play the game. Lottery, they read the numbers off once a day. That's when you're getting that excitement. Is literally when you're holding your ticket and they're reading the numbers and you're following along. That's where the shots of dopamine and the pleasure of gambling come from. That's why slot machines are more at risk to develop an addiction. So again, guys, be careful, set limits, gambling if you're of age, video games, no matter your age. If you want to spend $5 here and there and you can afford it, by all means, do it. But again, don't waste all your time and money on this stuff because you're most likely not going to win. All right, you guys are awesome. Thank you very much. It was awesome to come back and be able to talk to people other than my kids at the